afternoon, Howard Wig, Code Green Think Tech Hawaii. Welcome. I think that I shall never see a thing as lovely as a tree. We call that poem from high school or even elementary school. Well, do the same thing with a building. Believe it or not, a building can be just as lovely as a tree and have equal environmental benefits, because we remember that a tree, when provides shade on a hot day, reduces the under tree temperature by a good solid 40 degrees. It takes in carbon dioxide and transpires oxygen. Who could ask for anything more? Well, we can ask for something more from Onyx Solar PV glass. This is a technological marvel that, number one, makes buildings look spectacularly beautiful. Number two, can shade them from the direct solar gain. Number three, can admit light into a building. And wait, there's more. Do all of this while providing electricity. Brings me great pleasure to bring to the table Michael, Dodge Manufacturer's rep for Onyx Solar PV. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Howard.
And we've got a heck of a lot of slides to go through, so, why don't you, if we can bring up the first slide, and then you can just give a little background about what in the world Onyx Solar PV is all about here.
Of course. We do building integrated photovoltaics, so we actually can manufacture glass that also functions with PV. They can do it on the outside of buildings, and we can do it with a lot of multi-functions for all kinds of different purposes, not just the exteriors of buildings.
Yeah, and we're going to see all kinds of beautiful examples of that.
Yes.
So let's dive right in here. What in the world is this all about now?
Sure, this just tells a little bit about the difference between a conventional building and a bioclimatic building.
Bioclimatic building.
Yes, a bioclimatic building integrates the local conditions for a building, because there's different kinds of buildings in different kinds of areas. We're here in Hawaii. We have different conditions. It doesn't get very cold here, but it does get quite warm. And so the skin of the building with Onyx Solar glass can actually help protect the building from the increased heat, along with a lot of other factors.
So the gray bar would be a conventional building. The green bar would be buildings that are protected from the heat with Onyx Solar.
Purposely designed with the local climate in mind.
Yeah, because all we want to do in Hawaii is keep the heat out. Even in January, we want to keep the heat out.
Correct.
Yeah. So what else do we have here?
And in the next slide here, we will look at the differences between active properties and passive properties. So passive properties would be like reflecting some of the heat out, keeping the UV and the IR sunlight out, and then active properties being photovoltaics, where you can actually, a material that you would normally use for one thing also can produce electric, clean and free energy for the building at the same time.
IR being infrared radiation. That's the stuff that makes us hot.
Yes, IR is the stuff that makes you hot, and UV is the stuff that gives you cancer.
Yeah. And what else do we have here?
In the next slide here, it kind of talks a little bit about that. It shows the ultraviolet radiation and the infrared radiation on the outside, and then on the inside it shows the natural light being able to go through the glass, as well as providing thermal and acoustic isolation. And then you have a little plus sign down there showing that you also, on top of the benefits to the building for the UV, the IR, the natural light, and the thermal, it also provides additional clean energy.
Yeah,
so it's multifunctional.
This is what's known as a spectrally selective glass.
Correct.
Where in the visible light spectrum, we start way over in violet and we go way over to deep red. But then on the left side of that spectrum, we have UV, ultraviolet. Very bad, not just for our skin, but for our curtains, our rugs, our furniture, eats that up. And then on the other side, we have the IR, infrared, and that's what makes us hot. And what this type of glass does is block out most of the UV, block out most of the IR, and let through most of the visible light. just magic stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So on our next slide here, it shows kind of the combination of those multifunctional bioclimatic properties where you have energy generation, UV and IR filter, thermal and acoustic insulation, natural illumination. Then of course you have the innovative design, which you can make it look really interesting. And you also, because of the nature of all of these things, both protecting and reducing the HVAC use, as well as producing clean energy, you reduce CO2 emissions.
Yeah, and because in Hawaii we get most of our electricity from oil, you burn oil, you have lots of stuff emitting, and the biggest thing of all is carbon dioxide, the gas that is most responsible for our climate change.
Correct.
Yeah. So on our next slide,
this actually talks a little bit more about the selective infrared filter, where infrared radiation coming from natural sunlight can create a heat buildup within the building. And that's the part that you have to start fighting with HVAC. And so they did some measurements on this, and the Onyx Solar thin film photovoltaic glazing shows how it reduces the infrared radiation coming in.
You know, if I don't think the school system can afford this, but if we had this type of product on all of our public schools, we're talking about air conditioning them, we could take that air conditioning load way, 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 way down, or just use ceiling fans. But I don't think we're going to be able to afford that for the schools.
If you were designing new schools, you would want to take this into account as a building material right up front, and that we could plan it in, and then you can offset the costs of materials that you were going to use anyways.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah. So optimize solar factor.
Yeah, so this actually shows some more of you can see up at the top there, infrared radiation transmission, and it also comes into some of the optical properties of the conventional glass. It's got a couple of graphs there. This talks about the G value for the solar heat gain coefficient, and that's how much heat you gain inside. And on the next slide here.
A G value being what I call SHGC, solar heat gain coefficient?
Yes.
Okay.
You got it. On the next slide here, it'll show it a little up front. So it can show that in conventional glass, it's got the ultraviolet at the top there, about 60% penetrating. The next level is the infrared with about 60% penetrating, and then the SHGC, the solar heat gain coefficient of 70 to 85%, where if you have the solar thin film on there, the ultraviolet gets diminished by about 99%, down to 1%, infrared down to a much lower value, and then again the solar heat gain coefficient down to 10 to 40%, depending on which product you choose.
But with all of that protection, you can still see pretty clearly out the window, can't you?
Yes. In fact, when you from the outside, it looks different than from the inside. There's two completely different views. From the outside, you can sometimes you can't see through it at all, and on the inside, you look right through just like it's a shaded glass.
So you still get good what's called VLT, visible light transmittance. You can see clearly to the outside. That's a car, that's a tree, that's a human being, and so forth.
Absolutely. And people are trying nowadays to increase the amount of natural light that they have in their offices and in their homes, and this is one way to go about that with a lot of additional benefits.
Including health benefits, which we may get into later here.
Yes.
So what else we got here?
This talks a little bit more about the selective UV filter, and again, you can see in the highlights there where it filters up to 99% of the ultraviolet radiation. And you can see in the next column there, it has the natural illumination, and you can actually see right through there. You're looking right through the glass, and you're seeing the clouds out sky, you're seeing the blue sky above. So really, you can actually see nature while you're still protecting your internal environment.
When we look out like that, again, we talk about VLT, visible light transmittance, and that just offhand looks like a clear pane of glass with something approaching 100% VLT. It can't be nearly that high, but it certainly looks very, very natural.
Yeah, it looks great. And the other thing is it's nice to be able to see outside like that. It brings additional benefits to people as they like seeing the outside. And on the outside of the building too, it does reflect some of the light as well.
And just to talk about benefits of being able to see outside, one of the most famous studies of daylighting was done by a lady who I'm proud to say I know, Lisa Heshong, and she's from Northern California, where everything starts, and she's an electrical engineer. And she took a group of school kids and their teachers from a classroom environment that was very, very poor in terms of a view to the outside, and put these same kids, these same teachers in classrooms that had beautiful views of the outside. Test scores increased 20%. And now we're doing the same thing with the offices and assembly lines and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's one of the advantages we have here in Hawaii, is that we have such a great outdoors to see. This is one way to increase our view of the outdoors.
Yeah, yeah. And well, I think you'll mention it, but you have the natural daylighting coming inside, so you don't need as much artificial light.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So not only are you getting the natural light in there, which is beneficial to people, but you also reduce the need for artificial lighting, which also reduces the energy need for artificial lighting.
And I would point out that Thomas Edison invented the light bulb in 1878, which was about 150 years ago. And we human beings, Homo sapiens, have been on the planet for around 200,000 years. So the amount of time that we have had to adapt to that artificial light from a genetic standpoint is some teeny fraction of 1%, which means that our genes are still totally attuned to the outdoors rather than to artificial light. So it just makes us feel better and produce better to be in the atmosphere of natural daylight.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what else we got here?
The next benefit of this particular type of glass is it has thermal insulation, and so it helps reduce the amount of heat going into the building. And you can see there, it describes a little bit about the values for the U value in there. The lower the U value, the more benefit it is to the building.
Well, I think you'll have to describe or define U value.
It's the coefficient which it's complicated to describe for me. How the building protects itself against thermal processes.
Yeah, it allows less solar heat in, and in a cold climate where you want to keep that heat in instead of letting it go out into, say, the Minnesota winter, the higher the U value, the better job it does of keeping the heat in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
this talks a little bit more about the photovoltaic estimation return on investment, and it shows at the bottom left-hand corner there, shows the different transparencies. Because it isn't just coming one size fits all. You can have it for different transparencies for different preferences for the building and the aesthetics. The darker the transparency, the more energy it produces, and then generally the 10, 20, and 30% are normal for daylighting circumstances. And then you've got the little chart up at the top there, and we've got a close-up on the next slide here, where it talks about the differences between the Onyx Solar low E glass, traditional low E glass, conventional glass, and a PV panel. And you can see where differences between the three, where it's got the selective IR filter, the selective UV filter, the solar factor for the solar heat gain coefficient, natural lighting, thermal performances, acoustic performances, and also for the electricity generation, which obviously the Onyx Solar glass and the PV panels are the only two out of those pack.
You know, this has so much information in it that we should take a break, take a deep breath, and then come back and really dive into this thing. This is Howard Wig, Code Green, Think Tech Hawaii, back in a minute.
Hi, I'm Ethan Allen, host of Likeable Science on Think Tech Hawaii. Come join us every Friday at 2 p.m. when I interview interesting scientists about what they do, why they do it, and why we should all care about it. It's a lot of fun to see. We hear, and you can learn interesting stuff. You'll hear all kinds of fascinating science, and we know you'll have a great time. Hope to see you then. Bye-bye.
Aloha, my name is Kirsten Baumgart-Turner, and I'm the host of Sustainable Hawaii at thinktechhawaii.com. We air live on the internet and also on Oceanic Channel 16. I'd invite you to come for a fresh new show every Tuesday from 12 to 1 o'clock. I try to bring on guests that give us a different viewpoint on aspects of sustainability in Hawaii as well as trying to unpack some of the difficult concepts of measuring and achieving sustainability, particularly with regard to sustainable economic growth and prosperity in Hawaii. Please join us every Tuesday from 12 to 1 p.m. Mahalo, aloha.
Good afternoon again. Howard Wigg, Think Tech Hawaii, Code Green. My guest today is Michael Dodge, manufacturer's rep for Onyx Solar PV. And as you are already seeing, this is an exceptional product that can add beauty to a building, and I'm learning more and more, just save energy out to the window or in the window, and have other benefits. We broke by looking at a very detailed slide. Let's take a look at this and kind of walk the audience through there. Selective IR filter, and IR again is infrared radiation. So what we're doing with that is keeping a lot of the sun's heat out.
Correct.
Whereas with a conventional glass, almost all the heat goes right through the glass and into the space.
So if you look at some of the buildings around Honolulu even, it's mostly conventional glass, which means the building is heating up much faster than if you used a low E glass or a low E photovoltaic glass.
And if people wonder in looking at the new Kaka'ako high-rises, the new design has zero lanais, zero shading of any sort, so you have the sun's heat just beating on this glass. And you might think, God, isn't that an oven in there? Well, probably that glass has very low visible light transmittance and a whole heck of a lot of spectrally selective property that will keep most of the heat out.
Yes.
But back to our slide here. Oh, okay. Well, it was, yeah. Let's do the chart again, because this is where the rubber meets the road. Okay, so UV filter, we talked about that. UV is the stuff that bakes our skin, and it can damage furniture and just about everything else. We could go and do a whole seminar on UV light, but we won't. SHGC, solar heat gain coefficient, again, keeping the heat out. Natural light, natural lighting, we've talked about the benefits of daylighting, of being able to view, and of being able to decrease the amount of artificial light. Thermal performance, oh, that's probably the U factor.
Yep, that's the U factor, and that's another one of the factors that helps reduce the need for an AC within the interior of a building.
Acoustic performance.
Yes,
Yeah.
also we have a busy city. And lots of noises going on around there, and having that layer of glass on the outside can help reduce the amount of noise that you hear inside. You know, if you're in an office building, allows you to be more focused than if you're hearing all the honking and sirens and things like that.
And is that because it's a double panel and you're trapping some of the heat or some of the sound inside the between the two panes?
You're basically creating an additional wall on the outside.
And then finally, and I think we'll talk about this more, electrical generation, as in these panels are not only beautiful, but they are also PV panels. They're just a thing of beauty rather than just totally functional.
True. And if you're thinking about energy production, photovoltaics is becoming more and more important here in Hawaii. We're producing more and more energy every day with photovoltaics. And when you look at a lot of for example, the office buildings, because that is so much of our downtown, there's very limited roof space. So if you're going to try and offset some of your usage, your energy usage, you've just got limited roof space up there, and last times you have additional equipment and things like that going on top of the roof. However, on the entire exterior of the building, you have a huge surface area that you could be generating electricity with. And if you're going to create a skin on the outside of the building anyways, you might as well use it to generate electricity and offset some of your usage.
You know, when you say that, I'm thinking again of those Kaka'ako high-rises. They are so high, they've got so much glass space. God, they could just about take care of our daytime needs, right? The electricity needs just right there.
That's true. You can actually produce up to as much as 90% of the usage of a building by utilizing that huge surface area on the outside.
Yeah. Okay, what are we doing for slides here now?
This talks about some of the customized solutions that you can do, because it's not just this outside skin of a building. You can do curtain walls, brise soleil, which is shading. They call it a sunbreak. Walkable floor, which there'll be a slide coming up down the road for that. Skylights, ventilated facades, parking lots where you can do a covered parking structure, canopies, even urban furniture, which is kind of a niche market for it, but it's possible to be used. It's kind of a neat thing. We're going to come up with a slide like that.
This is going to be fascinating here.
Yeah, but there's lots and lots of different uses for it. It's not just the outside of a big office building. There's lots of different uses for it.
So we're going to see, what are we going to see next here?
Next here,
skylight.
Yep, and you can see this is, some of this is in European. This is a LEED Platinum building over in Spain. And again, you can look right through there and you can see right through into the sky. You can see the clouds. Looks like there's a jet flying overhead there in one of the squares there. And you can see how the light comes in and is beautiful. You can see outside, you can see nature, you can see the sky. You can see it's a beautiful day instead of just looking at a texturized ceiling. And so
that really helps with what's called our circadian rhythm, where over 200,000 years we got up with the sun and we went down with the sun. And when we're in an enclosed building, we lose track of that, where skylights let us know exactly what's going on outdoors, and that's just plain old good for us.
Absolutely.
Because we are born and raised, our 200,000 years of outdoor living.
Absolutely. And if you're looking to design a building with LEED certification, this is one additional factor that you can help bring that building to the LEED certification.
Yeah. And maybe we have Brise Solar next.
This is a retrofit project.
Wow.
This is where, I guess, again in Spain, where you can see they took different types of the panels, were different colors, different textures, different transparencies, and you can see some are light, some are dark, and they threw in some of those colored ones. With this particular type of glass, you can get colored glass too, so you can have the whole spectrum of glass in there. So you can do really interesting designs. You can mix and match them. You can see there's at least blue, red, and yellow in this one, along with the traditional colored ones.
Yeah, we human beings love contrast under the right circumstance, and this is definitely contrast under the right circumstance. And again, it's allowing natural light in.
And for this market in Spain, adds a little playfulness to the rooftop, and again, it's protecting everybody inside from the market, from the UV rays, reduces the solar heat gain, and produces the electricity.
Yeah. Just amazing. Yeah, we Americans are not very imaginative compared to other nations, including Spain. That is really something. I'm waiting for Americans to catch up with that. But there's more.
Yep.
Ooh, what's this?
This is actually just a symbol of some of the projects that you can do. You can actually do designs on them. Now, when you do something like this, it does significantly reduce the energy production of it, but you can do designs on it. You can do a logo on it, something like that. If you're doing some windows right near your entryway for your building, you could put you could etch your logo into it.
Wow.
And so lots of different creative ideas that you can do for that. This one's over in France, obviously. And just an example, some of the creativity that's going on, we're looking at over for a yoga studio over on Kauai. They're looking at doing either a geodesic dome or an octagon. They haven't decided on which way to go. And we can actually custom make this. We're going to make 4 different shapes so that they all piece together. And so it's not just rectangles and not just squares. We can do all kinds of interesting shapes for different types of projects.
And then you could etch in, say, a logo of a yoga pose or something like that.
Yep, you could do that.
Wow. Kauai, well, that's a good excuse to visit Kauai in the future. And I wouldn't mind doing yoga in that.
Yeah. And obviously, here's our headquarters over there. You can see how beautiful that is from the outside. That's a beautiful building. You can see it reflecting the clouds above in the sky, and it really is a really nice look. And again, if you're going to build a building and you're going to put reflective glass on the outside of it, you might as well protect it from the UV, protect it from the infrared, reduce your solar heat gain, and produce electricity.
Wow. And what's this ventilated thing all about here?
That allows air to flow behind there, so it allows the heat to escape. Like I said, mentioned before, it's like a second wall out there, and so it helps it's like insulation. It helps reduce the amount of heat that gets into the building.
Precisely. Wow. That is, we Americans have got to play some catch-up ball here. Yeah. And I bet there's even more.
Here's another retrofit built project, which means the building previously had an exterior to the building, but every once in a while you do want to go ahead and clean that up, refresh it, because there's parts that need to be updated. And this one, you can see how they used different colors in different areas to create kind of a texture throughout there and get creative. And so it isn't just all one color or anything like that. They kind of did a tic-tac-toe on there of different colors.
And are those translucent? Also, they allow a light into the building?
Yes, for the areas where it's it basically serves as a window, you can see through it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this one's over in Spain.
And then this is an interior shot, I gather.
Yeah, well actually it's zooming out on that building,
Yeah.
and so you can see right there on the left-hand side there how you can see right through some of those glass features. On the outside it has the aesthetics, and from the inside it's functional.
And again, looking out, it looks like clear glass. I mean,
Correct.
the amount of daylight that's coming in is really exceptional.
Yeah, you can see it reflecting off of the desks there, that it does brighten it up that much, that it's nice. And again, you can look in there, I don't even see the overhead lights on. Looks like the light in there is all ambient light coming through the glass.
Yep, good point. The lights, I'm a lighting guy and I'm not seeing the lights on either. Wow. Okay. Ooh, this is an industrial looking thing here.
Yeah, this is in Mexico. This is the Coca-Cola headquarters down there. And you can see it's a huge, huge building where the exterior has all been done. And again, you got the interior picture looking out at the buildings there on the lower left-hand corner there. So you can see right out there. And you can actually see, that's actually showing in between the outside glass and the inside wall. So if you get a close-up of that again, you can actually see that's in between the two right there.
Sure.
So that's how this particular building's held on, is by those rails right there.
Wow.
Obviously, huge exterior of the building, which helps protect that entire building, and you can imagine how much energy this amount of PV could generate.
Do you know what that sort of Gothic-looking building is on the right
I'm not
there?
sure what that is. It's down in Mexico. I don't know what that particular building is that's shown in the background there.
Wow.
But the Coca-Cola building is very beautiful.
Wow. Is that outside Mexico City by any chance? Or?
I'm not sure which city it's in. It probably is Mexico City, though.
But obviously Mexicans drink a whole lot of Coke.
Yes.
Yeah. So are we ready for a break yet? Yes, let's do our second and last break. Code Green, Howard Wig, Michael Dodge guest, back in a moment.
Aloha and welcome to Think Tech Hawaii. I am Ina Chang. I am the guest host for Small Business Hawaii with Reg Baker. Tune in every Thursday at 2 p.m. and watch us. Aloha.
Aloha, my name is Richard Emery, host of Condo Insider. More than a third of Hawaii's population live in some form of association, and our show is all about educating board members and owners about their responsibilities and obligations and providing solutions for a great association. You can watch me live on Thursdays, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. each week. Aloha.
Aloha, this is Maria Mera, and I'm here to invite you to my bilingual show, Viva Hawaii on Think Tech Hawaii, every other Monday at 3 p.m. We're here to inform, motivate, and entertain you. Join us. Hola, soy María Mera y estoy aquí para invitaros a mi show bilingüe Viva Hawaii en Think Tech Hawaii cada 2 lunes a las 3 de la tarde. Estamos aquí para informaros, motivaros y entreteneros. Apuntaros.
Good afternoon for the third time. Howard Wig, Code Green, Think Tech Hawaii. My guest is Michael Dodge, manufacturer's rep for Onyx Solar PV, headquarters in Spain. And I know there's a building in Kona. Are we going to see that? Or
Yeah, that's at the end of the slideshow there.
Good. Oh, that'll be our grand finale.
You got it.
Yeah. So we've been seeing all kinds of applications here. And I bet you even got more.
I bet I do.
Ooh, that's a modern-looking building, to put it mildly.
This one is a new construction,
Yeah.
of course, in Spain. And you can see the entire building is not done. It's a curtain wall there. So you can see this, you don't have to do the entire skin of the building. You can do different things. So this is just an example of a curtain wall. One of the other things you can do also, you can see up in the upper right-hand corner, there's a glass rail there. And so you can also do, I don't believe that this one is, but you can also do glass rails out of the PV also. So you're seeing more and more of these, so the people who are inside and going out have the ability to see nature, which is the reason they have their lanais or whatever it is out there. And so you can actually do that in PV glass as well.
Wow, I could see, you know, most of the high-end hotels in Waikiki look, of course, over the ocean.
Sure.
And that's south, so you're getting, especially in winter, a lot of sun. What if the lanais had as their walls instead of just iron bars, had those things?
It would be much more aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, yeah, and make additional electricity.
You got it.
Wow.
Here's a Brise Solar over at a university, Arcadia University. And so you can see they did this one with a unique panel. Those are actually specifically spaced cells, because you can also get it in that form as well. And so they did this to just create a sun break there. And it also produces the electricity. Gosh, I think that this is producing several $1,000s a year in just a small area, also creating that sun break there over an exterior portion there.
Yeah, it's probably, I'm gathering this is a northern climate, so it's probably facing south.
Yes.
Because that's what you want to do in a northern climate. Yeah.
Yep.
So you're protecting against the sun.
Sure.
Wow, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this right here is a BART station over in San Francisco, where this is a big photovoltaic canopy at their, as you know, we're building the light rail here. This is a photovoltaic canopy over at their rail system. And this actually produces, I believe it's in the neighborhood of, in our dollars, about $43,000 a year in electricity, while creating that shade effect for the station.
And being aesthetic as anything.
Yes.
I mean, I can see this winning, well, several of these slides could win architectural awards, but especially this is pretty spectacular, speaking from an architectural standpoint.
Yes, actually a lot of them have won architectural awards, especially in architectural glass. And if someone was designing a building, we actually have engineers and designers that can assist. So if somebody who did want to incorporate this and they didn't have their own ideas, we can help them along the way.
And while I'm thinking about it, we do have contests here in Hawaii for different building designs, architectural contests. And one of the factors we always look for is energy efficiency.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity for that here.
So I bet we have even more.
You got it. Here's a photovoltaic parking lot in Italy. And you can see the unique structure right there. You can also see the bottom of the panels there. A nice foundation for that, for the PV parking lot, creating shade, keeping your cars cool, producing electricity at the same time.
And especially here in Hawaii, that would add value to parking. If you were, say, a neighbor island hotel where you have outdoor parking and you charge the guests for that parking, you could charge them more because it's shaded.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It would be, and at the very least, even if you weren't charging extra for the parking, which you could, at least you're adding that value where somebody's going out there, especially on some of the sunnier parts of the island. They go out there to the car, and instead of their car being 160 degrees when they go to get into it, it's much cooler, more temperate.
Added value,
Correct.
another soft effect, as we call it.
Yes.
And
Here we go. This shows a PV elevator. Actually, the glass on the outside for the elevator is photovoltaic glass over in Italy. And again, beautiful, aesthetically pleasing structure. And you wouldn't even know that this is producing electricity. It looks like an architect just went in there and said, you know, let's make this a really beautiful structure. It has all those additional values as well as producing electricity.
yeah, and I imagine in whatever building this is in, you could have right in the lobby a big plaque saying not only is this beautiful, but it's producing estimated this much electricity.
Absolutely.
Great selling point. And if it were rental property, that would up the rental value.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah. And I bet there's even more. What in the world is this now?
This is at George Washington University. This is a photovoltaic floor. So this PV glass actually has especially non-slip glazing on it so that people can actually walk on it. and it actually produces electricity too. And you'll think on the next slide here, you see another option for photovoltaic flooring here, a colored photovoltaic walkable floor. And so you can actually, it's transparent, it produces electricity underneath the walkway. It has energy storage, has batteries down there. And then at nighttime, it has LED lights that light back through the colored PV floor.
And just from a safety standpoint, this type of lighting is ideal for safety, say at night. You know exactly what you're walking on, and if there's a step, you can really, really discern that step, and it would eliminate or largely reduce the need for overhead lighting.
Yes, you can't miss it. If your walkway is lit from the bottom up with LEDs, you can't miss it. It looks great.
That's called backlighting, and it's the most efficient form of lighting for a lot of applications.
Yeah, very cool. And here we get to the niche market for photovoltaic kit for urban furniture. You can actually have kits where you can make tables and things like that, where you can actually put a USB port and for outdoor furniture, and it'll actually produce electricity. You can charge your iPad, your cell phone, different things like that.
You know, those little outlets are so much in demand. I think anybody under the age of 30 spends half of his or her lifetime searching around for another port because they're constantly on their electronic gadget. So you could build it, say, out on Fort Street Mall here.
Yes, actually that'd be a great use is in public areas where public's trying to plug their equipment in, their iPads, their cell phones, all their different tablets. And this way it's producing electricity. You don't have to be hooked somewhere else up to electricity. You don't have to run outlets out there, and you can produce it right on spot where you're not even near public
and
utilities.
what a great boost it would be for the local mayor or governor, whoever, who's providing this service.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'd make headlines, And I bet there's more.
And here we go. This is one of our last slides here. This is one of the founders of Yahoo over in Kailua Kona on the Big Island. Put a retrofit at his home. He has a very nice home over there, and he actually retrofit it with the Onyx Solar PV glass.
And is this translucent glass so that there's light coming in?
There is light coming in. You can see that this actually uses the traditional PV cells. It looks like the traditional PV cells, only we've spaced them out on purpose to allow more light to come in between there. And you can see it's perforated there. The white backing right there is perforated so that it lets more light in. It was actually designed with this particular client specifically.
Yeah. So another example, and there's the palm tree reflected, so we know it's Hawaii.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's one of the nice things too, is that you can actually create roofing material out of these. So you can actually make them so that they don't leak, and you can actually do it so that you can do things like this right here, where you can have an extension on your home.
And I guess I deal with firemen also, and you want always a walkable roof, and it sounds like you could have sufficient structural strength in this, and then you could perforate for, give a little grip on it also, because I'm gathering you can custom design just about anything.
Yes, which is true. There are so many different ways you can custom design this. I'm not even sure the number, but it is a tremendous amount. You can vary the transparency. You can vary the different glazings on the outside. You can vary the shape. And so there's all kinds of different things. If someone has a really creative idea, the idea is bring your idea to us and let's figure out how we can make your dream into something that's a reality.
You know, I can just see architects drooling at this.
Absolutely.
Because this is the type of stuff that architects just really, really want to deliver to their clients.
Yeah. Well, you're taking something, a building material that traditionally has only been used in one way, and now you've given it a whole new life, especially with being able to produce electricity when our electricity rates are sky high, and it's something that's not going to go away. We're going to have to continue to generate electricity, and if you can do that with a building material and integrate it into the functionality of the building, even better.
Well, I would point out that I am an employee of the state government of Hawaii, and our mission in the Energy Office is HCEI, Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative, 100% clean energy for electrical generation by 2045, which is only let's see, 26, 29 years away. So this would be an incredible way of helping to achieve that. And then I'm just thinking there's no reason why, if a client wanted battery storage for this, just integrate it with battery storage also.
Absolutely. If they needed that, that could easily be done.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it this way. When you're thinking about constructing a building and you're going to clad the outside anyways,
Mm-hmm.
one way traditional way, you're going to go ahead and put, let's just say, conventional glass on the outside. This way you have the additional benefits of the low E glass, you have the additional benefits of the PV, and they run, right now we've reached what's called material parity, where the costs of the PV glass are relative to conventional glass.
You know, it looks so incredibly expensive, but I guess it's not.
Correct. They're comparable. I looked at it this way: if I was a building owner or a contractor or an architect, and I had the option, why wouldn't you just go ahead and have those additional benefits?
Wow. And we're running out of time. I bet we have one or two more slides.
Well, this is our final one here. This is just a quote from Sir Norman Foster. Solar architecture is not about fashion; it is about survival. And obviously here in Hawaii, that's one of the things we're working towards sustainability, and this is one additional way, one of the many pieces of the puzzle that can help us achieve those goals.
Yeah, and is that a picture of the Earth inside that bubble?
Inside a dewdrop.
Inside
so it's
a
a
dewdrop,
dewdrop on top of a leaf of a plant with the Earth inside it, shining out.
Very clever, yeah. So let's summarize, and I'm dumbfounded by the fact that you say that your PV glass is on a cost parity with normal glass.
Yes.
Normal high performance glass. And I'm the building code guy, and all glass must be high performance now according to code.
Yep. So there's a lot of retrofits that are going to be happening that are going to be using those high performance glasses, and I was really excited about this particular product as before I even got to the PV part. When you look at all the other individual advantages of this particular type of glass, and then the icing on the cake is that you can produce up to 90% of the energy that needed by the building. That's fantastic. And being able to lower the necessary usage of both lighting and HVAC within the building.
Wow. And especially in Hawaii, you know, the buildings up in Kaka'ako now are up, but there's a lot more on the planning boards.
Absolutely.
A whole lot more. And let's hope that they're listening to this program, because they would produce too much electricity during the day, but battery storage is also coming on like gangbusters.
There's lots of different options.
We store that battery up, and then when we have our peak demand in the evening, just when the sun's going down, boom, the batteries kick in.
Exactly.
Yeah, wow. This is an exciting future. And is all manufacturing done in Spain, or is there?
Yes, the manufacture is done in Spain and we ship it in.
Okay, I'd like to ask more questions, but we're being kicked off the show. Howard Wigg, Code Green Think Tech Hawaii, thank you so much. Michael Dodge, Hawaii Manufacturers Rep for Onyx Solar PV. See you next time.